The king is back, and he has bled. Snake strike first in this game one against Royal Never Give Up. Uzi, in his first game back, has dropped. Now, to be clear, the last best of 3 that he lost was in week 1 against JD Gaming. And Snake are 1 game away from making that happen again. Perhaps we could be seeing a pattern when Uzi starts off splits. He has to drop a match to really get back and
Look, that happened to everybody, though.
Yeah.
We got to stop this.
It's the new arena curse.
No, but in terms of, like, when Zatai came in, the 7-man roster, because Uzi was not there.
Yeah.
Obviously, they lost to FPX and Rogue Warriors.
Yeah.
So you do have time when you come back into a team and you have to assimilate, just try and change the communication structure to handle a new player. And in this case, the new player is literally Uzi, who's a shot caller for the team. So that's a major change for the organization.
Yeah.
And you have a composition that's just flatly difficult to play. So we'll have to see what ends up happening, because I think that the only change that it would ever make to this comp would bring in an Ornn in this case, because I think the GP is a little bit too much. But then changing the play, if I were to change anything in terms of the in the play style, is pertaining to the top lane fights, because there were quite a few of them, and a lot of them were just playing towards a GP that just was not having a good time, taking poor trades in a lot of the instances, and didn't get a proper base off, TPing back into the lane before they really started off. So set your GP up to succeed. In this case, they didn't.
It took a real long time for Zatai to get some core items, but finally, once he did, you could see some of the damage that he could do. And yeah, that's just Flandre talking about Beijing. Once again, we've already heard about it.
Yes, we have.
If Uzi shows up, we don't stand a chance.
See, that's funnier now. You're right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious now. You look at that and you're like,
game 1.
now I guess you're getting you definitely go in sightseeing. You look through the venue. You see, take a few games off the enemy team. A few is good enough because we're in a best of 3.
Yeah.
You just need a few to basically take the series.
A few. He needs 1 at this point.
That's true.
And his sightseeing will be seeing the stars before his eyes as he's able to bring down the king of the LPL. Sounds unimaginable as Royal Never Give Up now find themselves down a game in this best of 3. The fans are still cheering though.
And I wonder what the first pick priority is going to be going into this one. For both of these teams, Varus was definitely picked up early and makes it easier for your dual lane to come out and thrive. No punishment bottom lane, even with Trundle trading sides to help out Uzi in those lanes. We didn't get to see him. He was, what, 10 CS behind?
Yeah.
About 10 to 20 minutes into the game. Pretty big, pretty good. If I'm light, I'm like, you know what? Good job.
You take that. Against Uzi, you take that.
You take those. And so, going into this game, Varus is such a prime pick. In this case, he had lethality. I mean, he didn't go lethality. He went towards the lethal tempo Varus. So going straight to the Blade of the Rune King, just so he has more damage, consistent damage around Barons. Very crucial. This time around, I'd say you can go towards the Comet Varus and feel like you get yourself a poke composition, which Snake has run in the past.
And of course, that's more sustain against what we know to be one of the most aggressive Ezreals in the world. As Uzi did take that champion last time. We'll see what it's going to be this time, though.
Hey, nice shirts, Changmao.
I know. Really digging the color of those shirts.
Yeah, really cool.
It's a pretty spectacular one. But now we've gotten into pick and ban for this game 2. Snake with side selection have chosen red side for this second match. This second map against Royal Never Give Up. And though the stadium is very close to full, we do expect the RNG fans. Aw, that sign was great. Let me love you. Double entendre.
Huh. Love it.
Girl, let me love you.
What they will love.
Yeah.
The fact that RNG is now picked blue side will have the opportunity to pick Varus up on first pick. So I love that that change has already happened for RNG. Wonder if that's what they end up doing, because Uzi should be calling for it. Regular season Uzi will call for strong laning phase. Varus is that.
Now that Tahm Kench was very important for RNG in the previous game, taken away to deny it, but already a first pick Rakan, so RNG still playing to the bottom lane, just not through Uzi right away.
See, this is interesting because this actually allows you to play the Xayah Rakan lane, and you're recognizing that Snake can just go Varus Morgana here. So if RNG picks up Ezreal Rakan or Xayah Rakan into this lane, the risk is that sure, you have a great skirmishing and push potential, but if Morgana plays it right, you just lose the lane. So I wonder if that's what Maestro is going to go towards once the Varus is locked in.
That's going to be the pickup for Light. We'll see if that is the Morgana next for Snake, as Tahm Kench still in options, perhaps something a little bit safer.
That's interesting. So I would say that Morgana's really, roll the dice, because Rakan is so easy to play that we've seen so many flash Rakan charms.
Quickness grand entrance.
That Morgana's couldn't just be able to get the Black Shield off in time.
Yeah.
They don't see it coming. And so Tahm Kench is one option. Braum is, I think, the better one, but now having the Tahm Kench there amplifies the poke in the lane. So little range from RNG's bottom lane, almost assuredly going to be a Xayah. You'd expect that Karsa would try and play towards the lane now.
We'll see what Karsa decides to take, as that jungle pool has been trimmed down just a bit. The Camille, Talia, and Kindred taken away. Karsa now has the chance to look at some flexibility, as again, RNG did go for the first pick Rise in that last game to try and split push to match Flandre's Gnar. But instead, RNG, it looks like they might have learned their lesson from that game one, as it is real hard engage on that Rakan, and then even more long-range engage with an Ornn to close things out for Zatai.
There we go. They definitely learned it. It's nothing like the last. Honestly, the only thing I didn't like about that composition was just that they didn't have an Ornn, but it seemed like coming into game 2, they're like, everything must have engage.
We should get the Ornn, and we should also get more engage. What else can they use to engage in that mid lane? Yasuo maybe for the Wombo combo on top of it?
That's a possibility. I love that.
Sejuani is actually the champion of choice for SOFM. So some counter engage for Snake. Again, Light, he's got that Chains of Corruption, and then you've also got the Glacial Storm from SOFM. But with Snake on the red side, we'll see who they save that counter pick for, Guoguo or Flandre, because they have to go up against Xiaohu and Zatai.
That's interesting, but I want to touch on the Sejuani a little bit, because Sejuani is actually really difficult to play around when you're going up against a Rakan Xayah. Of course, you want to hold your ultimate for as long as possible, so, Xayah holds up using her ulti. You go for the Rakan, that he can actually tank a few autos, 3 autos, and then when one melee champion wants to be able to lock in the Sejuani passive, he just whisks away, uses E to the back, and it's actually difficult to just lock anyone in the bottom lane down.
That was the moon! It's got RNG on the moon!
Yes, it
in
does,
the stadium!
Dom. Yes, it does.
I can't get over how cool that is. They have their own moon. It's like a Death Star, but cooler because it says RNG on it. As Gangplank is banned away from Flandre. Another jungle ban taken away from Karsa. Really, Snake are doing the best they can to pair away his pool. Still looking to see what Guoguo and Flandre will take with this next pickup.
So this is interesting in the sense that so many aggressive junglers getting banned out here. You'd expect a Gragas pick, honestly, from RNG's side. They go Gragas here, then they can actually go towards a more aggressive mid laner. Rise is actually a fairly safe one, but I would say pick yourself up, Gragas. I think that would be a good one for Karsa. We've been seeing a lot of Rengars recently, actually. Globally, we've been seeing some junglers go towards it, so I'd be interested to see if that's an option. Karsa is a fantastic Rengar player.
Now, this is really interesting. Looking at the Rise first from Snake, even though they know where that Ornn is probably going for Zatai, they decide to blind pick that Rise into the mid lane, giving Xiaohu counter pick. Though they do still inevitably save that counter pick for Flandre, just the usage is a bit questionable.
This is great for RNG. They should be happy. Pick up Orianna immediately. Don't even waste the 10 seconds of my time to lock in Orianna.
To explain why the champion is good?
I don't even want to say it.
Well, how about 30 seconds? Whoa, hey there. Zach is the champion of choice for Karsa.
Hey, Karsa. This is something he's known.
2018.
Yep, Spring Split. He's picked it up quite a lot. A lot of them losses, because their issues have been playing too slow around the pick, too reactively with Karsa. But, I mean, if he has the Orianna to back it, as they're wasting more of my time instead of picking Orianna. There we go.
There it is. The Orianna finally locked in. No more time wasting. But, hey, we talked about engage for RNG. You've got Rakan, Ornn, Zac, and an Orianna shockwave.
Very pivotal, very crucial here. For Orianna, winning out the lane matchup, because she was assuming that it's going to be the Rise in that lane, and then being able to support the team fights with the Wombo combo of Zac engage.
Yeah.
And then obviously,
look at this!
If the fight ends up happening, Uzi walks up, the shield to help him out as well.
Snake do the exact same thing we talked about RNG doing in game 1. They flex the Rise. It goes top. Azir is picked up for Guoguo. And suddenly, RNG perhaps feeling a little bit less smug about that Orianna counterpick matchup.
It's interesting because the range, of course, just to your point, does favor the Azir. issue here is that it's Azir versus Arai. I mean, it's Azir versus the Zac. So Zac will look towards the lane, and sure you'll say, well, I mean, Azir has an escape. It takes a lot of his mana for that escape to happen. Literally every one of his abilities, W, E, Q, to just whisk away to your tower.
But he does have an escape.
And he does need the mana so he wins the lane. The go-to strategy to take the Azir out of the laning phase is to gank him so he uses as much mana to escape. And then Orianna will just be like, well, I guess I'm just going to walk up to you.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to look towards in the laning phase, because the mid lane is very crucial to both this team's success.
Our eyes absolutely need to be on Karsa's Zac, as we saw the second time that champion has been played in the LPL in the summer split, as SOFM get to take one of his signature champions on that Sejuani to try and track him down and deny as much of that Zac gank as possible. But RNG now find themselves having lost this game against Snake, one Nexus explosion away from losing their first match against Snake. And on the debut of Uzi's return, perhaps ill omens to the return of the King. We'll have to see if they can close this out and bring us back to a game 3, or if Snake will find themselves victorious and get that much closer to the playoff run.
Smashing expectations immediately, just in the opposite direction, where they're coming into this one. Beijing stage, Uzi's back, Snake's not having a good time. Everything's been aligning to RNG taking clean 2-0 victory as they have in the previous weeks. But then obviously it's not happening. They're losing the early game, so they're trying to change that up. But it's the best of 3. That's what is important here. It's not the playoffs where you get more time to feel your opponent. You make a crucial mistake in game 1. You need game 2 to be able to bounce right back.
That said, we're now loading onto the Rift. Royal Never Give Up taking on Snake Esports. As we get into this number 2 versus number 3. Now it's time to hear from the crowd, and if the RNG fans have still got the support that we heard from that game 1. Flandre is stepping up to Zatai very early on, as Xiaohu will step up and defend him as well. Even we could see Guo getting ready with those Sand Soldiers, taking heal in that lane against Xiaohu, as we absolutely need to keep our eye on Karsa and see if he can unlock Xiaohu in that mid lane, because we know Zatai is not exactly going to have a great time against that Ryze, at least for a large portion of this laning phase. And then still there's that volatility of the bottom lane, the Xayah Rakan versus Varus top catch.
And that's what usually a Zac needs to thrive. He needs lanes to push against him. So in this case, say a good example would be, let's say Ryze pushes up in the top lane against Yorn. Zac, let's bounce, ease into the lane. Elastic Slingshot is the actual name for it. And then that's a long lane for the Ryze to walk back. That's the ideal setting for a Zac team. So a lot of the times when you build these compositions, you need at least one lane that's gankable. Gankable means CC, sure, but also you get pushed in because it's not a proper matchup for you. That's one of the traps that a Zac ends up setting up. This is important because remember, Zac is actually a jungler that we haven't seen for a long time since the jungle changes went through. Difficult to get to level 3. So the early pathing is completely smashed. Bruiser junglers that thrive on level 2s just going to smack you. He knew he was going up against a Sejuani, so that's the only reason why he picked it up here today.
Now we see him turning onto the Scuttle Crab. Already SOFM is on the way to try and deny this. Smite secure, and SOFM continues to track onto the Zac, but being monoliths, he will get health back with that red buff, whereas SOFM needs to conserve that resource. And we did also not see a leash from RNG's bottom lane. Uzi and Ming already starting to take an advantage down there as they get that push advantage against Light and Maestro. That means Karsa's a little bit slower, but still gets to the Scuttle first, and is now going to clear out the rest of his camps.
And the ideal goal was to hide Zac's placement in the jungle. He wants to get to level 6 without any problems.
Ooh.
A lot of problems after top lane.
Ooh. Andre and Zatai. This is not a casual friends versus friends lane.
All Zac wants is 0 problems. But SOFM is not going to allow him to farm up without an issue.
Now they both have Smite here, but the stun is ready for SOFM. It's an easy proc. Karsa, is he going to use it early for health as he's tanking one? Xiaohu is there, but SOFM picks himself back up that blue buff. Here comes Xiaohu and Zatai. That's the elastic slingshot, but he flashes forward, caught by the body slam and nowhere to go. First blood to Xiaohu, and he gets the blue buff.
Really poor communication from the team of Snake. Because Snake actually constructed around the Scuttle Crab trade very easily. You know, it was actually Guoguo and Flandre that were coming in, the adjacent lanes collapsing to contest for Scuttle Crab. But then when the man went for blue buff, they're gone.
Xiaohu's stepping up onto Guoguo. Maybe a little bit of brain lag there as he just walks up to take that trade, but here we can see it again. Like you said, no communication from Snake to support this.
Rise is basing right now, and Azir was moving too slowly because it was just as a response to Xiaohu ghosting up over there. So just unfortunate from Snake that they weren't on the same page when it came to challenging for blue buff.
Now we can see a gank onto the mid lane. Guoguo gets pulled in, and Xiaohu with a double kill already. He seems to be hitting off the checklist that we set for him, getting unlocked in that mid lane.
I just didn't know where Karsa was there. So even with the flash being burned, double summoners gone for Guoguo, ends up dying anyways. This mid lane is completely in Xiaohu's favor now.
Already 6 CS ahead in that lane, of course using that blue buff to give him even more sustain as he completes a lost chapter to the double Doran's ring from Guoguo. Even Light is forced to use a teleport early against the push pressure of Uzi and Ming down in the bottom lane, but SOFM fancies himself a fight over the next Scuttle, but already we can see RNG have decided to give it up.
Double Doran's ring just to have the safetiness within the lane, has more AP at the moment, Xiaohu, but the mana you get from Lost Chapter is what's most important. So Xiaohu should feel much more confident in a longer setting. In a few minutes time his blue buff will be ready too, so in the long game, I favor RNG through mid lane.
Perhaps an opportunity for them to for Snake to try to open up the game. Could be through that top lane, through Flandre and Zatai specifically, because Zatai, previously the mid laner of Snake throughout all of 2016 to 2017, gets to play against his former allies. We saw what happens if Flandre could get an advantage in game one. Now we might get the chance to see it again. That's the Rune Prison. Headbutt and the Snare, chilling Smite. Ooh, but no next auto attack from SOFM means Zatai is able to escape and use
Or he's on her way.
Call of the Forge God, flash shockwave onto SOFM. They get the kill and turn it around.
That's what you expect from Xiaohu. Once again, 2 games in a row where he makes the roam topside. They still see him here, so he's trying to double down, but it might not come to fruition. We'll see what Flandre does.
That knockup misses. Flandre steps back in. There's the Rune Prison. He's still got flash as he makes his way under the turret, Airy, and the command attack. Volcanic Rupture, but he doesn't even need to use that flash to escape, as Xiaohu is just a monster this game.
2 games in a row where honestly Xiaohu, last game, you can say he's MVP, didn't get the win, but he played very well in that game. Comes into this game on point as well, 2-0-1. Excellent play top lane to get the kill on SOFM. His laning phase is that good based off the gank that he got, and he's making it pay across the map.
Just like that, RNG are now 1,600 gold ahead. A lot of that is on Xiaohu. Of course, it's shared between Karsa and Zatai with those kills being traded around. But even in the bottom lane, we're starting to see Uzi starting to get back into his comfort zone. BF Sword as he is controlling the wave against Light, who is still matching the CS of that Xayah Rakan. But whatever it was that Snake were trying to plan with this composition has been slowed down immensely by how Karsa has been maneuvering around the map and how that's unlocked Xiaohu, and now Xiaohu is already taking care of his side lanes.
And this is the real worry if you're Snake. Who do you actually toss the baton to? It was supposed to be Guoguo and SOFM, but no, you toss it to topside for Flandre. And then obviously the play didn't go too well for him. He doesn't have too much mana for himself, or at least too much damage for himself, taking control. This is getting worse.
Already, Guoguo actually, able to escape. With blue buff, he's able to escape from the gank of Karsa. A quick shuffle over the wall to get himself to safety as the elastic slingshot will miss. Uh-oh. Ming decides not to go into the bottom lane, but like you said, Snake, they've got to find themselves scrambling now. Who do they decide to turn this game around?
The answer should be bottom lane. At this point, Light should, very close to hitting level 6. That's where you want to find them getting plays on that side, but RNG understand that very clearly. Now leaning towards the bottom lane and actually just chip down this turret. So game is moving much quicker than Snake would have been comfortable with.
That tier 1 getting real low. Next wave is Cannon. The wave won't be able to make it there in time, though we do see Light and Maestro hanging around towards that mid lane. Even SOFM is over here as they could be looking for a counter gank onto Zatai, or sorry, Xiaohu.
Wow.
He's got no flash. Look at how far back he's playing it with the cleanse. He backs away and just walks towards the tier 2. 4 members trying to rush down this bottom tier 1 as the dragon is being finished off. First brick goes to Uzi. He gets all that solo gold, and the mid tier 1 is defended as 4 members are invested to take only a cleanse away from Xiaohu.
Yeah, a hard dive. If Snake wanted to make anything out of that, had to have forced Xiaohu to use his ultimate as well. Didn't happen. So in the end of the day, Light could not walk up to that turret to actually chip it down. The mid lane tower for RNG is going to sit there for a long time. So Snake, great play. Can't do anything to force Xiaohu off the tower. So they just lose a bottom lane tower for free.
That's starting to look a little bit scary for Snake, as already Uzi has been unlocked towards the top side of the map. He's heading up there to try and head off Flandre. Zatai is already heading bottom. Again, that unsealed spell book. Teleport will be his base spell here, as he's already got so much magic resist knowing that matchup, and even Light is being called. So we do see Snake respecting this incoming lane swap. Will they be able to defend their turret in time?
I don't know, you gotta wonder. Looking at Varus, there we go. Just Ryze is trying to push the lane before he bases, but this is an awkward push because if I'm Uzi, you just hold the wave, don't put it to the tower. At least the mage minions. There we go.
Oof.
And so, what the hell was that, Ryze? Honestly, he was trying to get the wave push before he ended up basing, but then now, it's a really bad lane for Light and Maestro to come back in. They need to wait until it very slowly gets pushed to their top lane tower. And when it does, Karsa is going to look for diving on that big wave. So that's one thing you look towards. It should take about 30-40 seconds to find if the dive ends up being successful. But now that's very hard for Snake to manage.
And look at that. He's even setting up vision around the Rift Herald as a control ward is placed into the pit to deny Snake's ward on the backside. Xiaohu did just complete another recall. He's got a blasting wand as he heads back into the mid lane to take control of that. Now here's an opening. Ty looking for Flandre. Ooh, that hurts.
Look,
and that hurts.
Look, this is happening.
And that one.
That hurts. Oh my god, stop it.
God, there's no turret for Flandre to go to. And the double knock-up, a volcanic rupture, Zatai
get away from me!
Decides not to flash for it. That's the push pressure in the bottom lane. He's still got teleport, but Xiaohu with blue buff takes control over mid lane as the wave builds up top, as SOFM heads to counter.
And this is the play we're talking about. The massive wave is starting to group up here, and Varus is so damn far behind now!
Ooh, that's the elastic slingshot onto SOFM. He's not even going to wait for it. Command Protect Shockwave is ready, but SOFM simply kites it out. There's the command attack again. Clockwork wind up as SOFM running into the jungle, but they're too busy chasing these kills. They're not diving the turret.
Nah, get the kill. I don't give a damn. Get him!
Maximum range bounce. Xiaohu gets the assist.
And they're going to get that top lane turret anyways. In fact, much better reward is the Rift Herald that will get you the tower and then some. So for RNG, this is a clear-cut snowball. And it was just off of the subtlest mistake you can ever make of Flandre just clearing the wave and then not pushing it to the tower.
Yeah.
Everything is going wrong right now.
And while we talked about Snake's style in game 1 to play it slow, wait for RNG to make small slip-ups and take what they can, well, this time it's RNG making small slip-ups. Snake making small mistakes and RNG taking everything.
Yeah, great responses from RNG. So now this tower is definitely going to go under siege. Karsa shouldn't even use his Rift Herald on this one unless they don't think they can get it on this wave.
A powered recall as the wave is being chipped away. The next minion wave is still a ways off. Ming is starting to get into the front as he takes these hits. Oh, ow, ouch, ooh.
Great from RNG to save their Rift Herald. They know they'll get this tower anyways, and so the prime target's going to be mid lane. Zach is going to clear out his red side jungle. You can see that RNG's dual lane will head mid lane eventually. And so it's going to have to be on Snake. They understand the play is going to happen. Wait, are they not going to take this now?
They're going to let it go to the minions. Snake have already backed away and
That's
recalled.
Cool. I like it. I appreciate it. There we go.
I mean, Snake are already looking a step ahead. They're heading towards the bottom. He's getting real low. 9 health. All right. Finished off. Light's actually now going top. He's finished off his Blade of the Runic King, his Guogua. Trying to build that Nashor's Tooth, still sitting on only the Stinger right now because he has been slowed down.
Look, he thinks he's going top. He hasn't thought this one through. He has to go to Crux. So the fact that they denied the wave, a good portion of it, means that look how far that's a classic lane swap maneuver where you try and force the enemy team to walk that up.
Step up, yeah.
Exactly. It's not a safe wave at all. Means that you can already see where Zai and Rakan are. They're trying to match the lane. Makes it so you know that they want to end up killing the Varus at this point. Because Tahm Kench's, his Swallow can save you for
Devour, yeah.
I like Swallow. could save you for a little bit. But that's a long road back to the inner tower.
I can already hear your shot calling in my head when we're playing the games together. Like, Raz, I'm going to go top. It's like, no, you think you're going to go top.
But you're
actually going to go to Krugs, and you're going to get that wave and wait for top to push in.
Yep.
So that you don't get dived by the Rakan. And now mid is undefended. Gorgo completes his recall. Rift Herald is used in the mid lane. It's just one step after the next for RNG to open up the map, and not even using the full health of the charge.
You should lead this next one. It does a lot of damage onto the next one. Oh no, they're not leading it properly.
Oh.
They didn't have the members to walk up with them, so makes sense in this instance, but it would have done so much damage. Let's get him.
Uh-oh, 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 uh-oh. Oh no.
That's when you have a lot of understanding of what Flandre's intent is. Trying to match the bottom of the wave. It feels bad, man.
Yeah.
You know what the response to that is? They're going to get this tower. SOFM, you cannot be stealing blue buff at this time.
I hate to see that happen.
You cannot be stealing blue
buff. But think
buff.
of all the mana. Think of all the abilities that he could use to try to deny a tier 2 turret as RNG push and take that tier 2 turret. Don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that.
You know exactly why I'm looking at you.
All right, Light is trading on the other side of the map. He's taking the top tier 1, finally getting Snake on the board. The perfect game is being denied right here, right now, in the top lane. Light puts Snake on the board.
At least they got that. At least they got something on this map.
At least they got that.
And so this is what this, I mean, you're right. It's tough. It's real tough. And so for Snake, this is not like the fact that they weren't there to potentially defend the bottom lane inhibitor tower, it's only because RNG had no idea that blue buff was being taken on the opposite side. That they had two members so far off from the main point of defense.
That's such a classic SOFM though. It's like, okay, they're pushing up to the inhibitor. We just need to 5-stack, and wait, where's our Rek'Sai? Why is he at the enemy wolf camp? Maybe he's gonna flank and he's recalling. Okay.
But the calls are being made because they know they're not going to be able to defend bot lane inner towers. So they're just banking on the fact that the risk is that they won't lose the inhibitor tower.
Yeah, panicked lashing out from Snake. Because this is not the slow and controlled style that Snake want to play. Uh-oh! Karsa has found SOFM again. The slow is denied. That Frost Armor falls off. Xiaohu's on the chase through the dissonance. That's a stun. But Karsa's ready with the next Elastic Slingshot. Flashback to safety for SOFM as Uzi and Ming come in from the side.
Alright, this is getting rough. No flash on SOFM.
Uh-oh.
This top lane tower is... I just want to see Zatai brawl this guy. Even though I know top lane tower is going to be
his
the most
former
important
teammate.
thing, I just want to see him get the brawler gloves out.
Gloves off, gloves on, gloves off. No, they just decide instead to push the waves instead. Even Gorgo was trying to get in there. Gorgo, of course, Zatai's replacement in the mid lane from Snake, trying to stand up to that. But right now, though he is 21 CS ahead of Xiaohu, he is relegated to holding this minion wave mid as Xiaohu has been completely unlocked on the top side of the map and is effectively maneuvering RNG around these turrets.
And to clearly put it, RNG just are not only in a pretty massive gold lead as a group, but Orianna's at a great spike getting Ludens for herself. So she just has a lot of raw AP for herself. Well, Gorgo, sure you have Nashor's too. That's great in a much longer setting. Nothing to really force the enemy team to respect your damage. Xiaohu could take a few auto attacks before he actually has to walk out. So we're at a point where Azir is behind in terms of the kills. 2 kills for Orianna means she just has more gold.
Still does
and
a lot of
that
damage though.
front, yes. Azir just needs some time. He's going to be great for setup, honestly. The Azir ultimate is something that maybe could decide the next fight. He'll just have to wait and see.
I mean, what better way for Gorgo to look across at his former mid laner of Zatai and say, yes, I replaced you. I can stand up to this pressure. I also think it's hilarious that Zatai was the mid lane for Snake, and he was most well known for playing a split push style, and Snake were the 1-3-1 with Flandre and Zatai in a side lane and the remaining 3 members mid. But now Zatai's a top laner, playing against Flandre in a side lane, effectively denying the 1-3-1 style to both teams at this point, unless you consider Xiaohu's Orianna a roam in this game.
No, that's fair. I like that too. It's fun too
because it
just showcases that Zatai's a lot more tame in this environment.
Yeah.
You recognize that he's not going to be the go-to playmaker what he was in Invictus Gaming and in Snake. That in this case, he's just going to toe the line, play a much stronger front-to-back tank, engaged role. So in this case, he understands that when they need him to play something more creative, then he can do that. But we just don't need that from Uzitai.
Like the classic Darius mid.
That was nice.
What a champion.
That was just the product of the meta, all right? Blame the meta, not the player.
That's right. Blame the environment, not the not the choices that the player made in the environment. I understand. Snake still defending in this environment, though, as RNG, they are slowly but surely tightening their grip on the map. Stormrazor's rapid-fire cannon finished off for Uzi. He's 25 CS ahead of Light in the mid lane. That Azir is starting to get pretty big. 40 CS ahead of Xiaohu means he's probably close to even in gold, if not ahead, when you take the turrets and the kills out of the equation.
He has a large gold dump right now, though. So he's just on the map for so long, facing now. I think he's getting a Void Staff. Either that or he's finishing off his rallies. Two options here. Void Staff.
Void Staff.
And so finally he's been able to purchase his gold, recognizing that Baron's going to be up. So that's going to be the major point of contention here.
SOFM tries to secure some remnant vision as RNG push up to the tier 2. They're still pushing up into the mid lane as well, as Guoguo making his way out of the base means that mid tier 2 is undefended. And that's actually Xiaohu who's caught by that Glacial Storm, but nobody's in a position to follow up on it as RNG just maneuver around, setting up a triangle of vision between mid and top to finish the last tier 2 turret.
But you take those from RNG. Now you know that Sidrunny doesn't have an ultimate. No vision. If you look towards Baron, entirely no wards from Snake. All cleared out. And they can't even walk too deep into their own red side jungle. So right now RNG is feigning a top lane push. They can very easily push this next wave, maybe take this tower, and then move back towards the Baron. Pings are coming across here from Snake.
They know that something's a little bit off, but it turns out it's the dive top lane. Call of the Forge God for Light. Oh, he gets pulled back in on the shockwave. Attack dissonance, he's low, but saved by Maestro at the last second. That does mean the tier 2 is undefended, though we do see a counter push from Guoguo in the mid lane, take the mid tier 1 of RNG. Still on the board, but this time RNG push up to the inhibitor. Unlike last time, it's a late recall. The minion is being defended by RNG, and the inhibitor turret is broken. 2 turrets for 1.
And this is what happens when you send that extra member to make a play across the map. In this case, RNG's like, well, okay, sure, Azir's mid lane. We see him, so we can just look for a top laner an inhibitor tower. So we'll have to see. Karsa's in a great spot for an engage. Has his ultimate. We haven't seen him use it all game.
Oh, there he goes. That's over the wall. Headbutt from Zatai. They managed to catch Flandre out as well. Ming with the good engage onto Maestro. Remember, Light has no flash, but Zatai also has no Call of the Forge God. So they find a pick onto the top laner, and there is still no vision for Snake on this side of the map.
It hurts, man. It's like the Safari Desert. Safari Desert. That's the best kind of desert.
What kind of desert is the Safari Desert?
The Saharan Desert. That's hilarious. I want to see that.
Oh, man. It's just barren trees as far as the eye can see.
So much sand on those trees. But in this case, the fact that Snake can't even get anywhere near it. It's nice to see that they play some wards that they can't really defend the moment RNG comes back onto the map. So all of that was done, and Karsa didn't even use his ulti in that entire fight. So, wait, why is Light and Maestro staying in the way? Wait a minute, why are we going to? All right, well, I guess we'll go to replay.
They're pushing up top, but here's Karsa finding the kill again, and it's just a quick engage on the Flandre, who tries to step up for a flank, but they're going for the late recall. Xiaohu steps up, blue trinket. I don't know if they've spotted Light yet, as Maestro is the one who's caught out first, and they take the support instead. Maestro, what a guy. Sacrifices himself so that his AD carry can complete the recall. Keep that vital 0-0-0 scoreline unmarred. I
just love the fact that, to your point as well, Observer was very confident that Light and Maestro weren't going to get picked out when they decided to stick to that extra wave. So what's going to happen, they lose their support, and now they're going to lose Baron off of it.
Already RNG burning through its health. Light is trying to get back in there. Flandre teleports in. SOFM, he's got the stun prepped onto Zatai, who's denying his foreign team from entrance to the pit, but RNG all flash out of it except for Uzi. Meanwhile, on the side, Flandre, he's found Xiaohu, he kills him, but they've managed to drop SOFM and Guoguo in the meanwhile. Light backs it off, but Flandre will be caught out on the back of this, so he nearly gets the outplay onto Uzi with some fancy footwork, dies under his ally's turret.
Such great execution from RNG, only losing Xiaohu through all of that. I'm surprised that they're now moving towards the dragon because I feel like they could continue to push forward. The only reason they would not be confident is the HP on Uzi. Knowing that Varus is still the only one available, can just use his empowered Q, WQ combo to be able to just wipe Uzi from existence, so they're taking the safe play, which was from a great team fight.
And that Uzi is getting pretty big. Second BF sword on the way for that Infinity Edge completion. Nearly done as this Cloud Dragon. God, I love Zach.
Yep.
I just hate.
What do you hate?
I hate how slow the W is. It feels so good to use because it's percent damage. Anyways, here's that fight.
Just a great combination of Orianna, Zach, Rakan. 2 kills immediately off that, so there's no way a flanking Ryze will be able to stop them from coming through. Obviously, the fans are getting their money's worth in Beijing. They're going to have at least an extra game now, just based off of how well RNG is performing.
It's looking real dire for Snake fans in the arena because it is 10-1. 7,000 gold lead for RNG. As Karsa goes full tank on the Zac, barely doing anything with that W, but hey, he doesn't need to. He just needs to set up the CC as SOFM is spotted on the far side of the wall. Baron is again being started out. This time they have got so much more shred. SOFM tries to step up to the pit. Blue Trinket spots this out. Ming with the knockup denies it. No piercing arrow to steal it away. Baron picked up by RNG. Realm Warp from Flandre. He's running and he escapes with Maestro.
Yeah, they get out cleanly, but you can see how frustrated SOFM. He was just dealing with a really infuriating Ming. CCing up so often, so I was like, what the hell? Unhand me, please.
Unhand me, foul beast.
Wanted to be able to get in the pit, didn't happen.
Oh, that's some good wave clear. The Ryze ability wave clear feels so good. Still 40 CS ahead, but not defending the correct minion wave as RNG simply follow up mid and break down this inhibitor. Snake are falling further and further behind, nearly 9,000 gold, 9,000. There's the engage. They found Uzi. He cleanses back and walks it up with the knockup onto 2. Xiaohu's looking for an entrance in. Finally gets the command protect onto Zatai. Shockwave whips, but it doesn't matter because Uzi finishes off the kill, though they do lose Uzi. Flandre keeps Zatai out of the fight as RNG are forced to back out of this one. Flandre does some damage and they decide to respect it.
That's what happens when you try to cut through the base to get to the bottom lane tower. So they paid a heavy price. Understood that the cleanse was immediately taken away, which is why it's tough for SOFM, knowing that you're going up against potentially 3 cleanses, because Ming could actually just use his spellbook to go towards it. To even try and find a pick, he gets one of them, at the very least the slow does its job. So Guoguo, only real time where he's able to get full damage on the front line, because he wasn't touched at all. Ooh. And that's the main win point here if you're Snake.
That was some damage onto Uzi. He finally thought he had the opportunity to step up, but Flandre with full abilities simply walked him down. And we can see Flandre going with the classic Doinby build, Righteous Glory on top of that Seraph's Embrace. Seems to be looking for a tanky Ryze, though as we all know, Ryze does damage anyways in the late game just because he gets so much mana. But mid inhib is down. Super minions pushing up and still 90 seconds left on the Baron. Zatai with teleport is split pushing top. The remaining members of RNG are set to prep bottom, but they're going to be cutting it a bit close with this timer if they don't start escorting these minion waves.
Yeah, the timer's going to run out with them not actually fully using it. So bottom lane waves needs to be tended to. That's 3 waves of commitment here for RNG to wait mid lane before they can actually move towards the bottom lane. And I guess they can try and go top lane for the inhibitor, but they don't have the Xayah. So they need to use Xayah here, which is why they're now committing bot lane.
There we go. Finally stacking up. Ming and Xiaohu will give over that Baron buff as the minion wave starts to crash in. Like you said, 3 waves and 60 seconds on the clock. Now Zatai is actually backed out of the top wave and grouped up towards mid to create push threat between 2.
Azir's not here. This is an easy dive without the yellow
flash engage, like you said. Flandre's the target, saved by Maestro. Chains of Corruption finds only Karsa in the front, but the turret already goes down. Zatai joins in with his team. There's Guoguo finally grouping up, but Flandre so low, he's knocked down. That's Call of the Forge God. Zatai tries to chase down his former ally, but Maestro with the save keeps him alive. The inhibitor is finished off, and RNG decide to back it off as the Baron fades away.
Really frustrating that the Sand Soldier himself wasn't here for this. What happened? It makes no sense for Guoguo to be pushing out the next wave top lane, because no one was threatening that wave, and there's no super minions to actually deal with. So just frustrating because they needed him the most to be able to hold the bottom lane inhibitor. It just wasn't there for them.
Oof. Wave clear with Ryze just feels so good, but that's the old bait and switch from RNG. Zatai shows top, says, I'm going to start building this wave. I've got teleport. What are you going to do? and then heads mid to push with the super minion wave and follow up on the dive from RNG as Guoguo gets caught trying to defend a lane where there is no one there. And now, as we get closer to the 30-minute mark, RNG, we're starting to see some signs of that intelligent macro play, pulling Snake across the map, taking the fights that RNG want to take, maneuvering around the Baron successfully. This is the RNG that won MSI. This is the RNG that won Rift Rivals, not that game one. So perhaps it's just like riding a bicycle. It takes you a few minutes to get your feet back onto the pedals, but once you start moving, the momentum carries you through for RNG.
I've never heard that one for a bicycle.
It's like riding a bicycle. You don't really forget. You just need to get back into it.
I can feel that. I
can
feel that.
You don't just start doing BMX after not touching a bike for several months. You gotta warm up. You gotta do some ollies, some kick. You don't do kickflips on a bike.
You can try.
You can absolutely try. It's just going to be real dangerous. Okay, pushing onto the inhibitor now. RNG doing a kickflip in Snake's face and in their base.
And they know they can't touch him because Zach's just there as the insurance policy. If you ever touch him, he just goes flying in. So really well done. Now they have 3 inhibitors down, waiting for 2 waves here. Mid lane waves coming in through with a bottom lane wave. It's going to take a long time for the top lane wave to come through.
Yeah.
But takes a lot of time they just have for themselves.
And look at that. They are aggressively cutting Snake's minions onto the map. All of these minions are going to start flooding in. Double supers on their way. Though that bottom inhib is set to respawn soon along with that mid inhib. There is a bit more time. You can already see it starting to swirl around.
They're all colliding at the same time. Unfortunately, top lane wave is not secured with the super minion wave. That's the next one. RNG just might go in with the mid lane wave.
Guoguo looking for that opportunity as the minion wave gets cleared out once again. Chains of Corruption lands onto Ming. Uzi leaps up into the sky, gets caught, used his cleanse early, but there's no follow-up as the tie goes in for the 2-man knockup. He fights the kill on the Flandre, and RNG pull the trigger. Snake find themselves on the wrong side of the barrel. And they're going to take these shots as RNG clean up the kills light, looking for the outplay, but nothing he can do. 1 versus 4. Flashes it back out, but gets pulled back in by that crowd control. Uzi with the triple kill on his return will provide the ace to Snake the Quadra instead. As they turn on to the Nexus and break it down, RNG bring us to game 3.
Very strong comeback for the team. And honestly, you could see it in Snake's eyes. The fact that the moment they could have actually got on towards Xayah, they stunned her down. They're in a pretty good spot there. Hesitation. Didn't want to go for the pick because they knew that would cost them the fight. They were just in a very bad position and they didn't make the call earlier. Confidence from RNG, playing it slow with the waves, securing ourselves a game 3.
And Snake suddenly might be quaking in their boot. As Snakes don't have 1 feet, they only need the 1. Bit of a tragedy for them as they now find themselves seeing a rejuvenated Royal never give up.
And this is what always gets you with Snake. You start having faith, you start believing, you think they can get to a quick 2-0 finish, but then you're wrong. You haven't seen this team. You haven't seen this team at all apparently, because they always push you to a game 3, but then it always comes down to a question whether they can finish the job. Oftentimes they can't. And so in this time, at the very least, what they showed in game 1 was that the early game looked significantly better when they draft towards it. And I feel like in this game, early game fights didn't go their way. In fact, Xayah was very heavily favored in the top side of the map as the game went on, just because Snake wasn't really thinking about the wave management all too well. So going into game 3, I think it's going to be closer than it has been in the past, but close is not good enough. They need to be able to take the win.
Absolutely. I mean, we just saw from Snake during that early game how they tried to skirmish, but it was SOFM invading into the jungle very early on to contest Karsa, and RNG, who came to the rescue to their jungler of Karsa. Nobody came to save SOFM, and once Xiaohu picked up that kill and blue buff, what are you gonna do?
Someone's gonna have to explain.
Get a talking to, yeah.
Someone's gonna be talked to. It's either gonna be the basing Rise at that time, or Guoguo, who didn't catch up to the ghosting Orianna in the moment, because it was looking promising. You know, you challenge the enemy jungler for the Scuttle Crab, you're like, great. I mean, you didn't get Scuttle, but you burned the summon. You got the smite, so now you can actually move around and challenge the blue buff. There were 2 steps in this strategy. 2.
Not just the 1.
And you didn't even follow for the 2nd step. That's upsetting.
All it takes. It's not even A through Z, it's A through B. And they got to A. and that was about it. So bit of a tragedy for Snake to find themselves at the end of an RNG snowball, though again, it wasn't exactly a clean and easy RNG snowball. They took their time with it. They made sure there weren't any options for Snake to come back in. I think in this game 3, we're going to see even less reckless play from RNG because, again, it's still match point against Snake. If they find themselves at the end of a snowball, RNG could be the ones in trouble.
Yeah, and so just means that you have to reset mentality going to game 3. It's going to be completely different than the last games. The only real lesson from both of those games is the Ryze flex being true here. That when you see a Ryze, you don't immediately believe it's going to be the Ryze mid lane. This time around, they thought that they were going to get the Orianna Ryze matchup. Didn't happen. It went Orianna Azir, which I actually think is a good strategy from Snake. It just collapsed very quickly because in succession, losing the blue buff fight into having Zac flank you in the lane, immediately kill there, forcing you to go double Doran's ring in that situation. It wasn't a good start for the Azir. So maybe they're confident enough to go back to that last draft and just say play it better. But it depends on if they get blue buff this time. I mean, blue side this time. Side selection is going to be crucial because side selection is what decided it for both these teams.
Yeah, and of course, with RNG being on the blue side, they had easy entrance to the objectives that they wanted. Once they claimed control of the river, it was very easy for RNG to set up for the fights that they wanted. Of course, we've got that Baron in which they're already in the pit. Snake desperately tried to group up, but Baron was never the goal. It was the fight afterwards. Boom,
and so the
shockwave
there,
entrance.
Boom. And you can see Flandre trying to come in with a reasonable flank. He can just get that one kill onto Orianna. It was just unfortunate that the play happened so quickly. You had to bounce out the moment that happened. So it was just great control over Baron from RNG for so long to be able to get picks. Ends up getting the smite later on because the Sejuani was completely pushed away from the pit. So great Baron control from the team. It took a lot longer for them. Naturally, you'd want them to just say, hey, why don't you just go for the fight? Just dive the tower, you have it, Zac. But they felt like they needed to play a lot more of a slower game because if they lose that game, they lose the series.
Exactly. And RNG, if anything, we know that their pride means a lot to them. This is a team that won the LPL Spring Split. They won MSI. They won Rift Rivals. We got to keep talking about it because this is what gives the team so much momentum. This is a team of superstars, and if they drop to Snake for the first time ever in this series, with the return of the King, it absolutely means a lot. It means that the King can bleed. They do not want to show that weakness getting closer to playoffs because at this point, RNG, they're just a few games away from locking that down.
And more importantly to that point is that, remember, they still have rotating rosters, in particular for Zatai and Garza. And a lot of the times when things go awry, when these reactive plays don't work for them because they've tried it 2 games here, then they just move towards MLXG. So Karsa, now more than ever, wants to have a proper performance. So his name is who you say first when it comes to who do we play in the playoffs? Who do we play, or who do we take when we go international? Because we have 4 people vying in the top side of the map in both jungle and top lane. So you have to have great performances here, especially versus Snake when Uzi's coming back to the team.
Yeah, I mean, we're even seeing the same thing out of Zatai, playing against his former team, trying to take the gangplank in game 1, maybe looking for a carry role, but not quite finding it because, again, Flandre, an excellent, as you said, the best top laner in the league right now. But in this game, too, taking a tank role, taking a supportive role in filling out what the team needs rather than what he needs or what he wants. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to, because this is a team effort to destroy the game. Yes, Uzi is a very good bottom lane player. Yes, Xiaohu is a very good mid lane player. Yes, Zatai is a very good top lane player, but it's the collection of 5 that makes RNG so terrifying.
Yeah, and so understanding that they can just be role players in that instance. So I like the fact that they just sped up the game. If I were to look into game 3, and if I'm in RNG shoes in this instance, I'd say Varus is something that is an interesting go-to here, that there is a great chance where Zatai comes in and continues to play Ornn. I think that was a great adaptation between the 2 games. Move towards Varus a little bit more. I think in this game they went towards Xayah Rakan because it was available to them. Should never be available to them. But a safe pick-off here is Varus just because it allows for strong laning phase, great poke potential that they could start moving towards with that pick, and also great engage, which they oftentimes go towards their bottom side of the map. So I think that's a great way to finish off the series.
Yeah, of course, we do still need Snake to try to bring it back, though. If there is a way for Snake to come back in this series, what's it going to be?
Ooh.
It's a tough question, I know, and I'm catching you on the spot. We've been talking about RNG for so long.
SFM, easy. Easy, because off his game 1 performance.
Okay.
And a lot of it is in how he bridges the game. So, I mean, sure, you have one great player in Flandre that you can play towards, but he needs to have that advantage first. I think when he went towards the Sejuani, I'm not against that. I think that the way he played the champion was nice. He didn't get the support from his adjacent lanes when it happened. But now moving back, if he gets the opportunity to play Kindred, then sure, you can be out in the map earlier. The Sejuani is fine in the case that you can start fights knowing that your lanes are moving with you. So if there is a way you win this game, it's going to be off of SOFM on you.
Is there a chance, and I know we're on patch 8.14, that we see them play a funnel strategy? We know the jungle item has been nerfed. Could we put it past them to try taking the funnel and send the gold somewhere else, maybe?
So the issue here with Snake is that funneling globally means that you put an AD carry in that position so they can get to that end game mark.
Jace, Kai'Sa.
Well, that's the problem because
Graves.
Jace does not count. Because Jace is a bruiser in this instance.
Gotcha. Okay.
He has a mid-game spike. And a lot of the times for Snake, they move towards mid-game spikes rather than late-game spikes. So it actually hurts them the most because as a team, when they finish up a lot of their items, and that nerf means that when you get warriors in enchant, then you can actually get the full gold value from the waves. But by that time, that's when Snake are actually oftentimes looking for fights.
Yes.
So they're actually getting limited where they want to get leads, and they're not putting Kai'Sa, Xayah, or the Graves. Sometimes they're putting in Graves, so I think if they want to have a Graves strategy, they still can.
Okay, so it's less about the acceleration that we're seeing from Snake, the constant quadratic or even exponential growth out of the jungle. It's just turned into more of a linear growth instead, which kind of matches the enemy team and defeats the point of a funnel strategy. Again, though, we're still looking to see what that's going to be from Snake. They've got a lot of flexibility in what they can actually try to take in terms of these strategies. We saw them try to play towards Flandre, which worked out in Game 1.
And I think that the Gnar that he had in Game 1 was exceptional because it gave him the opportunity to team fight. And while it was riskier because they just had flash engage with the Rakan and Gnar, you had the split push as well. And that was valuable, so it put the game into Flandre's hands. So I want to see if that's an option they can go towards, either have a game that is completely around split push on Flandre, where you can go towards the Jax, or they can just go for heavy team fighting, but have the early game be solidified by SOFM. These are all options that they should look towards.
Yeah, and the jungle, it was so important for Snake. We also know it's the same for RNG. Kai'Sa will take our MVP for that Game 2 victory from RNG, able to really get across the map quite effectively and set up for his team 1, 1, and 11.
That is the least enthusiastic, fierce pose I have ever seen in my life, and
look at the menace in his eyes. No, don't look at the rest, just his eyes. That man, ooh.
So you can see, just based off of his performance alone, a lot of it was on the engages that he had early on in the game. So while his CS difference was not good because it was Sejuani that was farming up, he wasn't trying to farm. He was trying to get his mid lane ahead. And so this is what we wanted to see out of him. Wanted to see the mid lane jungle synergy out of him, and it was riling the crowd up.
Absolutely. Finding those massive engages as Uzi goes in from the far side. Kai'Sa, boom, boom! The 1-2 on the Nexus, carrying away Flandre, the only person who really had that much threat and damage, aside from Gorgo at the end of the game. And from there, it's an easy separation for Snake.
It's even looping. All right, this is the greatest song ever. But
it's some F-Zero-X, like, I am ready to race with Captain Falcon.
At least it made that play as hype or exciting, because honestly that was one of the most drawn out, try and get the Nexus as possible.
Easy finish.
They got the win. I think Game 3 is going to be a lot more fun.
Well, we're going to see what that Game 3 is going to be. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. While we get ready, don't go anywhere. The LPL is going to be right back.
让我们把故事传唱下去，继续书写 RNG 的传说。